vocal minority, when the opinions of the silent majority are suppressed due to a small group that strongly and frequently voices their opinions. I don't think there's a better word regarding the ongoing situation for the Dragon Prince Season 4. Videos regarding what went wrong and how underwhelming the season have gathered hundreds of thousands of views. I also want to briefly mention that I've linked a Q&A Wonderstorm did earlier in the week in the description. I'll be covering some of it, but you should 100% check it out for yourself. It's got some great stuff that I wasn't able to include, unfortunately. Using some of my own community posts as well as the comments left on my Season 4 videos, I want to address what you thought could have been done better and potentially offer a solution to some of the biggest flaws. The perception seems to be quite similar, like they've tried to do too much and nothing was given enough time to properly develop. But to this I raised 4 community posts I've done since its release, one of which was a favourite ship poll, which coincides nicely with the Rayllum video I did and me explaining how Rayllum could have been handled better. A lot of my friends say that they can't wait for Season 5 to come out, and I have some great news for them and for you. Season 5 is currently planned to release later next year in 2023. My guess would be sometime around October, and even Seasons 6 and 7 are in development. Focusing in on the poll strictly about Season 4, the options ranged from incredible all the way down to wouldn't rewatch. The overwhelming majority was very positive, providing with absolute certainty that they would rewatch the season. The second most voted was enjoyable enough. I deliberately left out for this option whether that would constitute a rewatch, because I feel like those in this category would only do so under more specifics. I want to reiterate the fact that the vocal minority I'm talking about were saying that the show felt empty, had poor pacing, and from what I've read, wouldn't choose to rewatch Season 4 anytime soon. But according to my small sample, that isn't the case at all. Although something with all those things will have a video coming out pretty soon. Dragons: The Nine Realms Season 4. This poll took me by surprise, however. In line with my own opinion, Season 3 was well ahead of the others. With what I'd read online, I predicted that Season 4 might have ranked 3rd or 4th, but was instead ranked 2nd by quite a considerable margin, followed by Seasons 2 and 1 respectively. I'm not sure if I agree that it was that much better than the first 2 seasons, but I still respect where it's coming from. I think that you can like whatever you want and you shouldn't let others change that. However, in saying that, it is of course important to keep an open mind and not be afraid to give constructive criticism when and where it's due. To offer my own criticism as an example, there were many animation and lighting mistakes in this season that I don't believe were present to the same degree in the previous ones, but I'm aware that the timeline and development of Season 4 was probably quite different to what they imagined coming off of Season 3. In my last video, I spoke about Rayllum in Season 4 and offered what I would do to make it better, and the suggestions from you guys were all quite similar. The biggest ask was just to have Rayla apologise to Callum. While she did seem very apologetic and suggested very heavily that she had learned from leaving them and it was a mistake, that doesn't change the fact that she didn't say sorry directly. I know a lot of people in my original Season 4 video thought I was being too kind on her, but I'm not sure if that's just the fact that they hadn't read the Through the Moon graphic novel, or if, as demonstrated in my Rayllum video directly, people were more upset that they weren't together for this season. Linking back to what I mentioned before about Wonderstorm attempting to accomplish too much in too little time, Eraserjet points out that more time should have been given to let Rayla and Callum work through their tension. Time is incredibly precious, as I'm sure you know, which is why I try and keep these videos concise. So if you've enjoyed it so far, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. But you need time to explore themes, characters, and develop stories in a way that is meaningful, which is why I praise the final scene of Arcane so highly. Cut in the top right and link in description if you're interested. I personally don't know why the events of Through the Moon weren't even attempted to be recapped. I think Season 4 left those who hadn't read the graphic novel incredibly lost about what happened. There is also no mention of the letter Rayla left other than on the Dragon Prince's website they shared the contents, which I didn't even know existed until HyperNovaX left a comment on my video. Thank you so much, by the way. Another suggestion was to give Rayla's leaving more relevance to the plot. Potentially throughout her 2 years away, she periodically returned to the Stormspire to roughly perform her Dragon Guard duties, and would then be the one to relay the news that Claudia had been seen and Ibis was dead. Had they given Rayllum more time to bond in a more natural way that perhaps didn't feel as rushed, it would have allowed for a more rewarding conclusion to Callum's inner conflict, with desperately wanting to reach out to her, but not being able to due to the hurt she's caused. Some felt like they were a little misdirected by Wonderstorm about Aaravos and Callum, as we only ended up getting very few scenes of what's been coined as Dark Callum. There was an expectation set up with their marketing that some felt the season failed to reach. Callum's arc, or potential for an arc, was lost when he found out about Aaravos with everyone else there.
It's working!
I am a storm dragon. I certainly hope it's working.
Road work ahead? Yeah, I sure hope it does.
One of my viewers suggested that he could have discovered Aaravos in a similar way to what Viren did, and would thus put him in a more vulnerable state to be manipulated, which could then be explored further. In contrast to that, while I think that potentially sounds like a better idea in the short term, it closes off future opportunities to have Aaravos exploit Rayla and Callum's relationship. He puts in such little effort and has full control over Callum, and is even able to project his voice outside of the prison without a bug friend, demonstrating his power. Before we move into what audiences thought the biggest problem of the season was, let's cover some smaller things quickly. Ezran could have received an older sounding voice actor. When I first started the season, I was a little surprised as to how similar he sounded to before, given that it had been 2 years. However, to me, by episode 2, it felt completely normal again. And this last bit realistically has nothing to do with the rest of the video, but Arena pointed out something super cool that I didn't notice and I wanted to share it with all of you. In episode 4, during one of Zubeir's flashbacks, we see a figure on the left with an identical sleep pattern to someone in a more full body view on one of the end credit sketches. And now, according to the Q&A, she's been referred to as the Jailer, and she's a human mage. And hot. I'm not sure if that means she's good at imprisoning Aaravos or good at helping him escape, but I'll maybe go with the latter since she's a mage and that's what Aaravos preys on. Right, so let's address that empty, underwhelming feeling everyone says they had at the end. I'll start with mentioning that if you're not already aware, the Dragon Prince saga is confirmed to be following an embedded 3-act structure. I believe that this structure is the main cause as to why people felt like Season 4 was so lackluster. It didn't build on the previous seasons as much because it needed to start the events that would transpire in the greater Act 2 portion. A lot of people complained that nothing was really achieved, but I feel like the previous addresses that, and the fact that a lot was actually accomplished. As I mentioned at the beginning, the 5th season is planned to release next year and is already well into development. So what would I want from Season 5? Well, I'd love to see some real Rayllum growth because I think they deliberately kept them separate in Season 4 for some reason. And I didn't mention this in my Rayllum video, although I did use a lot of footage from it. I don't know why the writers had Soren as a crown guard leave, I don't know, the crown? There's literally only one scenario that works, and it would be Soren and Ezran and then Rayla and Callum. It's the perfect setup. It'd be cool to see a bigger focus on Viren too, as he either gains or loses strength over the coming days or weeks, depending on how great of an effect the dark magic he used had on him. I have no doubt this will happen along with more Rayllum, but a deeper exploration of Aaravos and his character would be so cool. I don't know about you guys, but Sir Sparklepuff just didn't do it for me. I felt like I was meant to fear it in some way, but with such a silly name and a few misplaced jokes, I just didn't. Speaking of, in the Q&A they admitted to the immaturity of this season in comparison to the darker and deeper maturity of Season 3. They said they've learned their lesson and they'll keep a stronger watch on it in future and pull back when it goes too far. I'm super happy they owned it, they took 100% of the criticism and are working with the feedback. One awesome studio, 10 out of 10. I think the reception for Season 4 was actually quite high, but the vocal minority in the community made it seem otherwise. In some respects I do think the vocal minority helped in some ways with addressing some of the smaller issues that otherwise would have blown past. Again, I quite like this season, but I think in regards to the general public, too much was being expected of it, and the communication of the title Mystery of Aaravos addressing the rest of the saga instead of just the season wasn't great. I really hope you enjoyed. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you did. Don't forget to look out for the absolute train wreck that is Dragons: The Nine Realms Season 4, a video I'm hoping will be up soonish. There's some cool stuff on screen or in the description if you want to watch any of those, but until then, thanks for watching.